Well, welcome to the Cut for Time podcast here at the Canton United Methodist Church. My name is Pastor Clay. I'm joined by Eric Stearns, and today we're digging into my message from Sunday, which was about joy. Joy being the theme of Advent, but also J.O.Y being an acronym for Jesus, others, and then yourself or ourselves for our context. But what does that look like? How does that actually work for us to prioritize others over ourselves? And then just how does that lead to joy? What joy comes from that? So it's going to be a good conversation. I'm glad you're here for it. Let's get into it.
So, one thing I was going to ask you about is just how different the last 2 weeks have been with doing online sermons.
Yeah.
Give us the background or give us the behind the scenes look of what that's like.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, the last couple weeks, worship has just been we've had other things taking the center stage, and that's just fine. I have no concerns whatsoever about sharing that with people. I think that's awesome, and this is the time of year for it. We had 2 weeks ago, we had the Advent Music Festival of just, everyone getting to share their talents with people, which was awesome. And then last week was the Praise Band Christmas concert, and they did a great job. Praise Band and friends, they did a great job. It was fun to just experience that with the church. And so it did mean that I got to record in a different way or present sermons in a different way. That was really, really hard and weird. I was looking for the perfect backdrop of our Christmas tree in the sanctuary and the Advent wreath. And since it's Advent and, how many candles should I light and how does that look? And just trying to adjust the camera angle and make sure it all went well and sounded good and was lit well. And, just kind of some of those nerdy things that go into it. And so it was just me standing in the sanctuary with a tripod and a laptop and my microphone and just, going for it. And it brought me all the way back to my first appointment in Brookings. We used to pre-record the sermon so that whatever sermon was going out to the people in church on Sunday was also what was going on the radio broadcast. And so that meant that if it was my week to preach, I was preaching that sermon on Thursday to get it to the radio station in time to be on the broadcast. It's a very different feeling of preaching. It's so much more dry. There's no organic. You can feel the energy of the room. You know when you've got people, and when you're losing people, and when it's time to crash the plane and just say amen. The story that your dad tells about Rod Gist one day just saying, looking at his watch and saying, "I guess I'm done now," and that was the end of his sermon. You don't get that in a video recording. You just don't. I don't get that feedback. I can't make jokes because no one laughs. And I thought I was kind of funny, but also, and just I'm not gonna even if I do laugh at myself, I'm not gonna keep that in the recording. I have the opportunity to edit that out, or if I misstep or say, if I say joy wrong 1,000 times, which I did on Sunday while recording the sermon, I can go back and edit that out. It was so different and so weird, and I'm glad to do it. It's the right thing to do, but also it's really hard.
So, one thing that stood out to me during the sermon was my struggle, and I think everyone's struggle with putting the others in front of the Y yourself, right?
Yep.
And when you're constantly bombarded with serving yourself or treat yourself, like one of our favorite shows.
Yes.
It gets really hard to put others first. Now, we're both in service occupations, and so just kind of by nature of our jobs, we kind of have to put others in front of ourselves. And
Yep.
For me, I'm making really big decisions for other people and what I think is best for other people. You're obviously serving a whole bunch of people trying to do way more important things than I am.
But I wouldn't go that far, but
I don't know. I think salvation is a little more important than.
Well, yeah, that's probably good. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you feel that way.
But you know what I mean? I mean, so by our occupation, that comes by default, we do those things, but I think it's different doing it by default through our jobs. And kind of like you had hit on when you do sermon prep, and that's different than Bible study. You
Right.
know, serving others for our jobs is different than actually putting others first.
Absolutely. Yes.
You know, and how
Yep.
hard it is to do that step of putting others before ourselves. I don't know, what is in your thought process, um, what's a good barometer or a good gauge of if you're actually doing that? You know what I mean?
That's
Like
a,
when you look introspectively,
right.
um, how do you know if you're doing the right thing in putting others first?
Yeah, that's a great question. Externally, it's really easy to tell because like is the decision I make going to benefit XYZ person? Is the decision I'm going to make the most beneficial to the most amount of people? Like, are they going to directly benefit? Like you can have that conversation and look at external, external not factors, external data,
Hmm.
empirical data, and just say, okay, well, we are going to do XYZ for this many people, and that's the right thing to do. But the internal work is so much harder, because it can be done from a place of, well, I'm just doing this because it's my job, or I'm just doing this because it's the right thing, it's the right thing to do, whether or not we feel that or not. And so I think that the internal work is really looking at, how does this make me feel? Like, do I really feel like I am elevating somebody else for the sake of, for their sake, rather than for me to look good?
Hmm.
Am I gonna let you do something? Am I gonna ask you to do something, or not ask you to do something? Am I gonna do something that's gonna benefit you, so that it benefits you? That's the big question. Like, because, like, the decision of like how I spend my time. Am I considering the feelings of others? Am I, really looking at ways that I can, extend good into the world, motivated by my faith, and then just doing that inner work. The thing that's
Hmm.
coming to mind for me is something that I heard from my aunt a long time ago about giving to the church. The church that she was a part of was really, kind of just shame based when it came to financial giving. And she really just had this sense of, she was being asked to give until it hurt. And really, it should be the opposite. We should be looking for opportunities to give until it feels good. We should
Hmm.
be looking for opportunities to better other situation, and until it feels good for us. And not that we're just chasing that euphoric feeling, or that we're doing it so that we benefit in the long run. But really, how do we do things for others in a way that just makes us feel good about it? That
Hmm.
that builds that joy we've been talking about in the first place. Like, this is all about Jesus, ourselves, and our Jesus, others than ourselves, which I did like 4 times when I was recording and had to cut out. Jesus, others, and then yourself. And like, not, we just have to just stop caring. And this is the hardest part of it. We have to stop caring if it benefits us at all. You know,
Hmm.
and then that's just that becomes the barometer.
I think that is the right answer. And taking that step when you stand nothing to gain and have everything to lose, really. I
Yeah.
mean, um, not not caring about what everyone else is going to think when you're doing the right thing, not worrying about, and you can do flashy things and yeah, like you said, you everyone can be rah rah, look at what you did, but that's not
Yeah.
the part that matters. And I think that's the um, where everyone gets so caught up in giving and all that kind of stuff. Hey, look how much I put in, and look how much, whatever. That doesn't really matter.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
where your heart's at when you do those things.
Exactly. Yep. And like, the recognition is nice, but it can't be our motivating factor.
Hmm.
Like, there's a certain temptation in the life of the church, not just our church, but like all churches, of like giving something to put our name on it. The recognition is nice, but it cannot be the motivating factor. The recognition, it needs to be a byproduct that we, that it feels good to be recognized for the things that we're doing. And like, it cannot be our intention, and it can happen anyway, but it can't be our intention. Like, that's the difference that's part of the difference for me.
Yeah. Sometimes do you think of giving to others is one thing that stands out to me is you almost have to explain it to yourself or to others like you're explaining it to your children.
Mm,
You know, if the kids ask, why are we giving money away? Why are we giving gifts to, Toys for Tots or whatever it might be? Because they need it more than we do. And they're never going to know who you are.
yep.
They don't need to know who you are, but they're going to appreciate what they got,
Yes.
you know?
Absolutely.
And yeah, sometimes you just gotta, I don't know, think of it the way that you would explain it to your children. Thinking about how we sometimes treat our children in this aspect. We want our kids to have success so we can see how successful we are,
Yep.
or,
Yes, definitely.
and I am, now that I have kids playing sports, I'm finding myself more and more um, falling victim to that
Sure.
mindset of living vicariously through my children. I just need to realize that this is really just for them. I am coaching them so that they can be successful and do what they want to do. And if they don't want to play sports, that's fine.
Yeah. Yep.
That's hard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But also, when you take your daughter to a basketball game and she thoroughly enjoys it and is thoroughly enjoying things that you enjoy, I don't know that there's a greater joy than that.
That does feel good. Oh
Last night
yeah.
when I was at the game with Nellie last night, and she was just grinning and loving it and wouldn't stop talking about it on the way home. Instantly all my brain went to was think of the things that we're going to get to do now that she likes sports.
Mhm. Yep.
And
Yep.
she sits and watches the Vikings games with me and just loves it. And I'm like, think of the times that
Yeah.
we're going to get to spend together because of those
Right.
things.
You are not living vicariously through her. You are realizing that this is putting others before yourself, Eric. Like you're watching your daughter's enjoyment becomes more important than the thing in the first place. And like looking forward to that going forward. Yeah, that's just, look at all the fun times that she gets to have because, this is a thing that you guys get to do together now. A similar thing went on like, now that he's really getting into like USD football and like USD sports and like just watching him watch a football game or just watching him take an interest and then ask 1.5 billion questions. And like at one point you're just like, oh my gosh, I just want to watch the game, but it's not about me. It's
Mm-hmm.
about the opportunity that we get to spend time together. That's so much more fun than anything
Mm-hmm.
else.
It is. It absolutely is.
Dad, what happened? It's a touchback, buddy. Dad, what
Mm-hmm.
happened? Offensive holding, buddy. Dad, what happened? Ask me 1.5 billion questions.
You can
That's just fine.
Yep, exactly. She was chatty Cathy last night, and I didn't care
That's
because
awesome.
she was asking questions to learn, and I will
Yeah.
gladly teach as much as I can. One thing I thought about was who around us, or you, or whoever, just kind of exudes the definition of joy that we talked about on Sunday.
Wow, I can think of so many people. You know, Teresa Kuiper is one of those people that just,
Oh
no
my
matter.
gosh, I thought the same thing.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, no, just despite anything that's
Hmm.
happening, like she's just one of those people that the whole world can be falling apart in so many different areas around her. And it just, you can tell after a while, you can tell that she's a little bit phased by it, but more often than not, it's just, she is just such a person of such deep joy that,
Yes.
I really I've grown to so appreciate and just notice and I really just appreciate that about her. And she's the first person, like
Yep.
anytime anyone needs a thing, she's the first person to just jump in and do whatever needs to be done.
100% agree. That was the first person I thought of, and yeah, she's just willing to help.
Yeah.
She's willing, whatever project we have at church, whatever it might be, she's just willing to help.
The idea that framed the entire sermon was this J.O.Y idea, like Jesus, others, and then yourself. Like we we're talking about with Teresa, like things are not always great, but that doesn't like rob us of our joy. We don't have to always be happy, and like the world is not always just sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes things are really hard and sometimes things are really bad, but yet we can still hold on to the idea of joy even in the midst of our of our lesser circumstances. Like our happiness can come and go. Like I was happy watching the girls that did the junior cheer thing. That was so cool. But then we watched our team lose the ball game. Like those two things are different than talking about joy. Joy is so much bigger and so much deeper than just our temporary reactions to our current circumstances. The topic of joy is so hard because we kind of sometimes conflate those two things. This is not very fun, so I'm not a joyful person, but yet we still are, though. Like we can acknowledge that things are hard. Like, I get to do a funeral this week, and like that's hard, for everybody involved. It's hard. But yet there is joy knowing that, that the person that I'm doing the funeral for, his pain is over. Like life was not very fun for him there at the end. And that's hard for us to navigate. And I don't want to ever reduce people's feelings or the hurt or the mourning or anything else that goes into that. But yet we have this profound sense of joy that is found in Jesus, found in our faith, found in our common identity as Christians, that I just don't think goes away as nearly as quickly or as for as long. I'm not gonna say it that way. That doesn't go away nearly as quickly as our joy does. Like our joy, sometimes life can be bad enough that it does get lessened or weakened, and sometimes we have to be resilient in our joy or fierce in our joy. But yet, we can't just say I'm not happy and then think of that we're, that joy isn't, part of the gift of Advent.
Yeah, what do you got planned for Christmas Eve?
Yeah, so Christmas. So actually, we have Christmas Eve morning to deal with first. That's going to be a different sermon, because it's Advent 4. We're going to be talking about love. The general theme of the message will be our transformational love. The love of Jesus makes us into different people. We are made into new creations in Christ, is what the Apostle Paul says to the church. And that's just the love that comes down at Christmas. The love that we're celebrating is the love of Jesus, which makes a complete and total change of who we are. It can completely rewire our circuitry, completely transform us into people that are pursuing the likeness of Christ. And so then we're going to turn around at Christmas Eve and talk about light and just how important Jesus' wondrous light is. We're going to be talking about the Isaiah text where it talks about the people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. And then that great light being found in Jesus. And how does the light of Jesus help us navigate not just this holiday season, but our entire lives as we seek to live truly and authentically for Jesus in the world around us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on this week's Cut for Time podcast. Join us again next week in person for Sunday morning, for Christmas Eve, Sunday evening, or back here for the podcast in 2024.
Woo! Thanks for listening to our Cut for Time conversation. Join us for worship in person or on Facebook Live Sundays at 10 o'clock Central Time. And now go in peace and serve the Lord.